Greetings, folks. This is Brian Harris with the Independent Black Voters on Facebook as we start our series of Get to Know Our Candidates. It is very important in every election year that we take the time to know who the candidates are, what the issues are from the candidate's perspective, what the job is, because many times people are talking about things that are outside of their scope of control. But if you're running for mayor, you need to know what the responsibilities of mayor are and what are within your limitations and ability to address. I've had the pleasure of meeting Kara Jenkins multiple times. How you doing, Kara?
Hi, Brian. How are you?
And I want to thank her first for taking her busy time to come out and start our phase one of let's get to know the candidate. So we're going to start off with just quickly going in and let Kara kind of tell you who she is and what her reasoning and rationale was to run for mayor, and also what are her qualifications. So Kara, I'm going to give this over to you.
Thank you, Brian. I appreciate you, and thank you, Black Book Media, for this opportunity to earn your endorsement. I am a longtime public servant. You asked about my qualifications, so I'll start there. I'm a longtime public servant within the state of Nevada, so I'm Nevada through and through. I've worked for both Democratic and Republican governors. So I am a true bipartisan appointee. My own party is bipartisan. And what that means, folks, is simply I vote based on values, not on party politics. And so the platform for mayor, for at least for me and my candidacy, is that we're people over party. And so the goals of the mayor should be, she should be able to make sure it sounds very basic, but it's super important that you've got clean streets, parks to play in for your kids, uh, basically a working city, that all aspects of your day-to-day life, traffic signals and lights, that they're working and functioning. It is not the most glamorous job, but it's really important to make sure that we live in a place or in a city that's sustainable, that's clean, that's growing, and that we can actually live in. So that's one element of what the mayor does, is to make sure that the city is safe and that our streetlights are working and that our parks are beautiful and that we have a really good place to call home. Having said all that, the other initiatives of my platform or for mayor is to make sure that her city has economic vitality and opportunity for growth. Not only because Vegas is the entertainment capital of the world and we want to encourage tourism, we also want to make sure that our locals, the people that work in hotels and casinos or who work and live in Las Vegas, also have the opportunity to live really well and have the opportunities that this great city can't afford all of us. We're now seeing a rise in sports. We're so excited. Go LV Aces, back-to-back champs. We're also seeing the expansion of the Oakland Athletics now becoming the Las Vegas Athletics to Las Vegas. We're seeing the potential growth for a basketball team. We've had the Raiders, we've had UFC, and of course we have our Golden Knights. So Vegas is just turning into the next big city. And so with all the things that are coming with these franchises and sports is economic opportunity and growth. We want to make sure that our residents have access to that too, that they get the bids to contract on any buildings or create businesses that can be like safe spaces or places where people can enjoy after the games. It's the entertainment capital of the world. It's also the sports capital of the world coming soon. So that's what my platform would envision, just making sure that Vegas is where it's growing and growing, that we have opportunities for the people that live here. Oftentimes people feel like they're in the shadows of all the growth. They're a part of it, but they're not really a part of it. We do it for the visitors, for the guests. And although we are very great in hospitality, I want to make sure, and what I've seen that's been missing, Brian, is that we've not been giving the love back to our people. And so we need to roll out the red carpet for our people, just like we do our guests. So that's just some of the things that I would do as mayor. Economic vitality, along with the day-to-day of making sure that we have a functioning city. I mean, even something as simple as clean water and sewage. Those are not the sexy things that the mayor does, but it's super important to keep a city at the forefront and cutting edge of getting people to come here, stay here, live here, so that legacies and generations of kids and then their families can call Vegas home, stay here, and not move elsewhere. So that's part of it.
Thank you. We're going to start off because I want to talk to you some more in depth on what the role is of the mayor. But this is a city that is run with, you have a mayor and you have a city council. And can you kind of just give us your overall concept of how the city works as it pertains to the mayors and the city council here? Because many people really don't understand that.
Right. Well, the mayor, she is one of seven on a council. And so there are other districts that are represented on council, and we basically approve ordinances that affect the day-to-day in the city. And ordinances are basically local level laws. And so with that, you have councils for each ward, like a district. And so you have six plus the mayor. The mayor also designates a vice mayor or a mayor pro tem. And she also works with the city manager. The city manager is the administrator or head or director on the administrative side or the city everyday functioning side of the day to day. When you go and get your permit, when you have to contact the city for a permit, or you want to get a liquor license, or you want to get a business license, you want to get land use, those are things that you would contact the city for. So that's a little bit of a history lesson about what your local municipal government does for you. The mayor is more of a figurehead, but she has great persuasive ability to really talk to other members on council to really push forward the growth and mobility of the city. She also sits on several boards and she can appoint people to boards. And she also has access to the city manager where they can discuss the budget. She is the CEO of the city.
CEO, thank you.
Yeah.
Because like I said, many people sometimes when we go to vote, we have to realize that a mayor has certain roles and responsibilities. They're not head of the school board, and while they may have say in certain issues, the mayor has certain responsibilities. Now, let me ask you right now, tell me from the perspective of the people, because as you said, we are a community that deals with having people come in. We're known for our hospitality. But what do you think of the major issues that are confronting the people who are living here every day, who have grown up here, who want to continue to have a quality of life that is that is middle class or better? Tell me, what do you think are the top issues that you think are here, and give me a little idea of how the mayor should be involved in addressing them.
I appreciate that question, Brian, and it's not what I think, it's what I've heard. We've done several listening tours. You've been at Coffee with the Candidate. You see me out there talking to people who live and work very hard in this city and really listening to what their needs are. And I want to say that when I talk to any business owner or just resident, I ask, what are the top three things you want your mayor to do? That way I can identify what a real good platform is, because one thing I'll just say before I get to your question and answer it is that a lot of times politicians will assume what the people need and not really ask them what they need. And so that's not leadership, in my opinion. It's really assessing what people need and then seeing how we can find a workable solution that makes sense just to getting it done. And that's the role of government, in my opinion. But back to your question, I feel like that the quality of life aspect that you touched upon, Brian, is huge for people. They want a good quality of life. They want a livable wage, actually, even more than a livable wage. They want one good paying job and to be able to afford a house, to have their kids go to good schools, to be safe. So it's safety and quality of life in terms of having a good paying job and also an affordable home or a housing solution. Homelessness is a concern as it pertains to not only safety, but for the actual people who are unhoused. Are they okay? Are they safe? Because that now spills into other areas where we need to really collaborate with at the city, and that's mental health issues, addiction issues, and getting wraparound services for people who truly need them to keep them safe. So, and also too, for small business owners, they really want to be invested in, and they want to be able to, if they have a dream or they're an entrepreneur, they want to be able to say, hey, I live in Vegas, I can file the paperwork, I can get my licenses, I can start my food truck company, I can own my own fashion boutique store. I want to be an artist, I want to paint, I want to have exhibitions, I want to have spaces to paint. These are all things that I've heard, and so that mayors should work collaboratively to make sure that those things are obtainable and at least understandable. Because when you look at trying to get access to capital or starting a small business, it's not easy. It's not for the faint of heart. But what makes it more frustrating for a lot of people, Brian, uh, it, it can be dealing with uncertain rules, regulations, inspections that come back where you don't pass and you don't know why you didn't. And it's expensive and time consuming. So probably day one, I've already kind of committed to looking into homelessness and creating a task force to try to tackle that major issue. But it's also, I want to meet with everybody and collaborate, and also talk to the city workers and the city manager and just ask what's working. What do you need assistance with? Where can we streamline areas that are frustrating not only for you as a city worker, but also for the public that we're trying to serve? How can we just streamline processes to make them make sense so people can take care of their business and move on about their day? Part of that is quality of life. You talk about sitting in traffic forever, Brian. I have family that's from LA. Trying to get from point A to point B, the hardest part is the frustration of sitting in traffic. And so the analogy is, when you're trying to work with government so that you can start your business, or you can uh, just move about your business plan, or be in compliance. That's a better word with business. You don't want to be stuck in traffic. And some delays are understandable. Some things have to be flagged, but when you're unnecessarily sitting in traffic, especially, like, for instance, if you got up early and you allotted for time to get to some place and you still get there late. I think that's my analogy at City Hall, with people working with city government officials, making sure that the processes are streamlined and people don't feel frustrated like they're sitting in traffic.
Okay, good point. Uh, so I'm gonna start off in talking. You hit upon the homeless issue, and obviously there have been a lot of major changes that are needed. If you're going to bring in business, if you're going to expand the community, you have to make sacrifices, you have to make decisions, and you have to figure out how to make places more accessible and safe. It has resulted in the homeless issue kind of being kicked the can down the road and moved around. People move around, ordinances are put in place. But the major issue, and I say this, is you cannot, how do you eat a pizza one bite at a time? And right now, many politicians do like to talk about mental illness, which is an issue. They want to talk about drug use was an issue, but we're seeing that the new homeless are dealing with the unaffordability of homes here in this city and around. And we have to come up with some solutions that has a city that is affordable for our people, and not just investors and not just the high-end people. Just give me your thoughts on that, because also safety is directly tied into, to me, is having affordable homes and having good paying jobs.
I think that's really important, Brian. I think you hit the nail on the head with that. What Brian's talking about, if everybody's listening and paying attention, is that a lot of people like to say mental health is the key problem for homelessness. It's not just a one tiered leveled problem. It's not just mental health. In fact, recent data that I had just received, not even last night when I was talking about this with other thought leaders on homelessness, told me that probably 30% of the homeless that we do census on. So every January, the city does a census, or I believe it's a nonprofit group that does a census on the unhoused, and they actually see how many we have. We have over 6,000. It's gone up in a year since last year, since the ordinance that was passed to criminalize homelessness. But I digress. Anyway, from that information and data, I was told or informed that 30% of the folks who are unhoused right now are homeless, uh, are dealing with mental health issues. That means 70% are not, which lends to perhaps what Brian is saying, and that's it's an affordability issue. And so I've been in talks with other developers who have solutions on how to make homes um, with materials that are less cost efficient. I'm sorry, not let me not say less cost efficient, but less expensive. So there are materials out there that are environmentally sound and can sustain our desert heat, our southwestern weather, climate, monsoon season, and humidity when we get it every 2 days out of the out of the year, out of the 363. And that material is proven to be a lot less expensive than just drywall. So there are other ways in which we can build homes that we don't have to have folks, the costs don't trickle down to the people when they're purchasing the home. There's ways that you can even factory make homes that are more cost effective. Not to take away from builders or developers, there still will be a need for everybody in this city, but we're talking about for the 70% of folks who need to make sure that they have a safe place to stay, they have shelter, maybe they're fresh out of college or they don't have the luxury of staying with their parents like I did for years after I graduated law school to come back home, back and forth. They need a place to stay, and they can't couch surf. That's looking at solutions like Boxable, where if you buy a home or a casita, it's $50,000 down financed, and maybe you're paying $250 to $300 a month. And we talk about with what people are making. Minimum wage is $8 and a little bit more an hour. Hopefully, we can raise that more too, and we can use the office to really push for higher minimum wages and allow for incentives and tips to happen. At minimum wage, you can be able to afford a home. And the goal to homelessness, the end all be all, is sustained housing. That is it. That's the solution. Now, how do we get there? It's going to take a team of people to collaborate, not only with the city at the county level and the state level, to address these issues. And the mayor needs to have the strength, energy, creativity, and contacts in which to make that happen. I do believe I have all those and possess all those qualities. Not only am I deeply invested in this issue, being myself a single woman and having my house, and man, it just take me to get sick and then I might be on the street. It's very personal. And so I'm invested in that way emotionally and personally, but it's something that we can do. It's something that we can do. I want everybody to take hope. We can fix this. What we're seeing now is evidence of people just putting band-aids over bullet holes by criminalizing it, by not really doing anything, by looking the other way. But it's to the point now, Brian, you can go on any intersection in Las Vegas, no matter what part of town you're in, and you will see someone facing homelessness, and they'll be looking you dead in the eye with a sign. And so what that tells me is that now all the symptoms are around us. We can't ignore it. And so we need leadership to make sure that we can fix it. And we can. I want everybody to know that's listening, we can absolutely fix homelessness. It's being done in other cities. We're watching other cities, but it takes collaboration and a little bit of creative thinking outside of the box.
Great. Let me give you a hint, and I say this: instead of focusing sometimes on the homelessness, focus on expanding the middle class. If we expand the middle class, we will see a drop in homelessness. So they do go hand in hand, and we'll talk some more of this in future discussions. Now, as we grow the city of Las Vegas, many times the systems that are in place lock out smaller companies, and specifically minority companies, and in this one specifically Black companies, from the opportunity to build Vegas. And I asked this to another one with obviously what we saw in the the death of affirmative action in college. There'll be more attempts to keep a diverse background of people building Las Vegas. How, from a mayoral aspect, do we try to make sure the inclusion of businesses And again, I like to talk a lot about Black-owned businesses, but it's all businesses, small businesses, Hispanic business, Asian businesses, everybody. But specifically, Black businesses seem to be locked out of many times the opportunities to build a Las Vegas. So how do we have a real inclusion process in the, I'll say, in the building, in the procurement, in all the different avenues of running a city of Las Vegas? What's your opinion there? And hi there, young lady.
That's my niece, Callie. And she's the next future leader. She's probably wanting to ask mommy, what are you doing? Hi, Callie, we're working. Auntie's working. And so to your question, Brian, I would say that how you get more support is by electing a Black woman to be mayor. And you're staring at her.
Yes, because like I say, and again, uh,
It's very simple. Representation matters. And when you
absolutely.
people
And
in those
it is important not just of the person, it's the commitment, because and I'll go back and I'll say this. If you look at the growth of the historic West Side, much is being built in the historic West Side. Very few of the people who are building it, very few of the people who are owning it look like me. And there has to be a conscious decision and a conscious effort to say, if I'm going to build a city that is going to be inclusive, economic inclusivity is important to the survival of all groups in here. And again, as the independent Black voters, I'm going to state the independent Black voters says that we must make sure that our Black population gets the opportunities from the business aspect to thrive, and grow, because the growing homelessness is disproportionately hitting the Black community. And the only way to solve that is more economic opportunities for the community to grow and prosper with everyone else. Your thoughts?
Well, I just want to say this. I don't want to boil it down to something so simple as just vote for me because I'm Black. I was getting at a bigger point there. When you talk about electing someone who is not only qualified, committed, and has been supportive of the community her entire career, you were looking at that candidate. So I want to just qualify that statement. But I do know that at least when I was looking at role models and seeing like Thurgood Marshall, he's one of the reasons why I wanted to go to law school. I, it's because I saw it. Stacey Abrams, all these greats, you have to see it. And just by the uniqueness of who we are, we bring ourselves to our positions. And so when you put people who look like you, who and support people who have the same values that you do, that will automatically, or it should automatically mean that you will get that representation you need. Now, I understand that is not the sentiment of many folks for the West Side who live in historic West Las Vegas. And so I know that there are some very strong candidates coming up, potentially for Ward 5. And so one thing I'll just say, and I'll just bring this back to me, is that I echo your sentiment, Brian, that folks should be included. And part of my platform is accessibility, and I'm Mayor for All. So you'll see that hashtag a lot. Mayor for All. Kara Jenkins is Mayor for All. And I truly mean that. I've worked my whole life to make sure everybody gets a fair shot. I'm currently the administrator for the Nevada Equal Rights Commission, the longest standing administrator for that agency. And that agency is under the governor's office. And it was created in 1961 to ensure equity in workspaces, public spaces, and in housing. And I've been the longest standing administrator for that agency because it's probably my life's passion and my best job ever. And that has given me great access to cabinet level conversations to really inflect culture and talk about the importance of Juneteenth and the Crown Act and equal pay, a criminal background reform, reentry, the importance of that. That I was asked once, Brian, in an interview, how do I not mobilize, but how do I, what was the word? how do I advocate? And it depends is my answer. And that was my answer in that interview. And it's got to be appropriate for the crowd that's receiving it. But there's always the underlying theme of no matter who meets with me, they come away feeling that I've listened, that I'm thinking about a solution. If I don't have an answer, I will get back to you on that. You and I have had hours long conversations about issues that matter to us. And I'm consistent and I'm effective. And we'll try. I think the biggest, one of the biggest concerns or, frustrations for voters is that at least try something. Can't just keep staying the way it is. And leadership, you're going to make mistakes, but you want your elected leaders to try. That's why you vote them in. They are there to serve you. It is not the other way around. That's my mentality about government. You earn the vote. You work really hard. You listen to what your constituency would like. Within reason, you make that happen. You step down. You pass the torch, so the next generation of leaders can lead, and you leave whatever office you have in a better place than it was when you found it. That's legacy. So that's a little bit about, how I feel about those things.
First of all, I appreciate that you clarified your statement, because let me make this clear. Our philosophy is the Black agenda is the American agenda. The issues we talk about affect all Americans in one way or other. It just seems like our community, when it comes to certain issues, gets hit the hardest, and we want to talk about the issues. We do not endorse people on the color of their skin. We endorse people on the content of their character. We talk to all races. We talk to all people. We look at their records, and then we look at their vision for the future and making sure that it involves Black America in the upward trend of economic opportunity. So I'm glad you made that statement. And I want to clearly make that statement to my people. Just because you look like me doesn't mean you're the best candidate for me. And that's the key things we look at. It is, what can you do to economically uplift my community, to deal with the issues of homelessness, to deal with the issues of just economic prosperity for not just us, for everyone. So I thank you for clarifying that for me. I also want to do this. Again, I want to have multiple conversations, because people have an attention span that is only so long. We cannot get to know our candidates on a 20-minute conversation. We cannot get to know our candidates on just a brief encounter. So we're going to invite you to have multiple discussions with us as we go to talk about key issues like affordable housing, as we talk about key issues about a living wage versus a minimum wage, as we talk about solutions that the city needs to look at to make it more business friendly for small businesses. So there's a heap of things that we want to talk to that pertain.
I believe I talked about all three of those today for you, Brian.
We want to go into detail. We're going to want to talk to you a few more times and do this if you're available. We also want to invite you, the Independent Black Voters Group on Facebook. Anytime you want to just post thoughts, rants, your thoughts, please do that, because the more you speak, the more we know. The more we know, the better the chances are that we will support the best candidate. So go ahead.
When will that endorsement be?
Say what?
When will that endorsement be?
It is coming very soon, as we are taking the time to vet candidates who have agreed to speak with us. And I thank you. You have spoken with us, which means a lot. There are some candidates who have avoided talking to the independent Black voters.
Come on now.
And some look like me, and some don't look like me. And obviously, if you're not willing to talk to us about the issues in depth, then we will not endorse you. If you're not willing to take the hard questions, we will not endorse you. I've talked to you, Cara, many times. And as I said, we're very close to finishing our vetting of the mayoral candidate. We will then do our endorsements of that candidate along with other candidates. I do want to ask you a question because we're gonna do multiple of these, and I don't want to, as I said, I want to go too long. We talked offline about the casino that they were talking about building on the historic west side, and I guess the structure there mysteriously burned down recently. I
Oh,
asked
I
you
didn't
a
know that.
question. Huh?
I did,
What'd you say?
I did not know that.
Yes, it just recently burned down mysteriously. And
Uh,
one of the questions that I asked you was pertaining to the fact that I do not live in the historic West Side, but I know if they were going to build a monstrosity that big in my living space, it would never happen in Henderson. But yet there was a thought to do that, and they're still talking about that issue there. I believe that we need first-time home buyers. Sometimes we need to get away from developers, but create something like we have the Habitat for Humanity that builds home. Maybe we can use areas like the historic West Side to create an area, a living area for that's not designed for developers to have to get a certain return on their investment, but is designed for first home buyers so that they can come in and afford to build something that they can afford to live on, that they can sort of create equity and do something like that. In other words, I believe there are better opportunities in certain areas that will strengthen the community versus sometimes making these lofty goals and promises that don't really help the existing community other than to pack their bags and leave. But that's just my opinion. So I had asked you a little bit. You said you're going to do a little research on it, and
I
just
didn't know they burned down the structure. I do know that I have been talking to my advisors and my team without disclosing my full platform because, as you know, I put ideas out there. They get coined and taken as their own. And I'm not trying to be a ghostwriter for my opponents. For them to use ideas, they can certainly contact the campaign or support our campaign if they like our ideas.
Mhm.
But we've been talking to advisors about getting a local level AmeriCorps program here for young kids to build homes. And it's a land use issue and working with the city to make sure that we have AmeriCorps and opportunities for young kids to have jobs like that can build homes that other cities have in areas where we have permitted land use to do so. Another frustration with the West Side, and I don't live on the West Side either, but I have been speaking to folks, as you know, is that a lot of the services and land permitted in the West Side don't tend to attract people, unlike Henderson, where they have the most parks per capita anywhere. So yes, that's something I'm very much aware of and something that we will be working on. I want you all to know that I'm very honored for this time. Brian is a friend outside of this. We go back and forth a lot on issues. He's never afraid to ask me the tough questions. I respect him for that. I believe he respects me for my openness to try to at least tackle some of these issues. And it would be an honor to earn the endorsement, but you will see me again.
Absolutely, and I appreciate your time because I know time is very important. As I said, we will have another discussion because we call these more conversations than interviews about your platform, and where you're going forward. I'm going to end this letting you, Ms. Jenkins, give us your plug. But before I do that, I want to do some housekeeping and say the Independent Black Voters was created in 2017. And the whole issue was people, not parties. And it is to know, vet, understand your candidates. We cannot continue to vote all blue. We cannot continue to vote all red. We cannot continue to vote for people who are out of touch with the American people. These are tough times in America. You know, I read that the numbers look good as far as the economy, but the people don't feel good because of the economy.
The interest rate is pretty high on everything, and gas is ridiculous. Continue.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we need to have a change in candidates. We need to have candidates who understand us. We need to have candidates who fight for us. We need to have candidates to truly put all Americans first, including Black America. And that's why we do this at the Independent Black Voters. And so I'm going to end this. I'm inviting Ms. Jenkins to come for a second conversation, but I'm
Yes.
asking her to end this with just telling us a little bit about why we should vote for you. So you get to end this conversation as we get ready for the next conversation.
Well, again, Brian, I thank you so much, Mr. Harris, for even caring. It starts with that. And so, folks, you heard Brian talk about we have to be informed and know. When we know better, we can do better. And there's nothing more important than exercising our rights to vote for candidates that are qualified or candidates, period. One of the things that I'm really proud of with this campaign, everybody, is that I've been hearing your feedback. I'm so grateful for the responses and the encouragement to keep going, for your support, for following on our social media. That's our Facebook, our Instagram, our Threads link. That's Kara for LV Mayor. Thank you for your donations, your generosity. These are tough times. So even when I get donations, like $10, that means the world to me because that could have been gas you put in your car. But you're saying that you're investing in your future because you trust me. And I don't take this lightly, because I'm a voter too. And I'm someone who works very, very hard. And, I get concerned as well too. And I want to live in a city that's clean. I have clean water. The street lights are working. The sidewalks are functional. The garbage man comes every day or every set day that he's supposed to. These are things that make the city function. And at the same time, we need them, or else we become a city that's in the dark or the shadows. And that's just not where we're growing. And we need to capitalize on all that's coming and the attention that's being focused and highlighted and spotlighted on Las Vegas. And so I want our people to benefit too. And when I talk about our people, I'm talking about all of our people, all of our voters and residents. But it'd be lost if I didn't acknowledge the fact that I am a Black woman here working very, very hard. And I understand from my lens some of the challenges that are a little bit distinct in my journey to get to where I've gotten, to have had the supportive and loving parents that I've had, and it's not lost on me the shoulders I stand on. So you get a lot with me, but you'll get someone who's kind, who cares, and who will work very, very hard for you. So thank you so much, Brian. I appreciate it. I'm ready for the part 2, and I'm ready for the endorsement. You already know.
Okay, and thank you very much. We're going to have like I said, we're going to set another one up. But folks, this is an introduction to Carrie Jenkins. She is running for the mayor of of Las Vegas, the mayor of Las Vegas. And again, stop worrying about what name recognition is. Stop worrying about what the parties tell you should be the winner, and listen. Use your eyes, use your ears, use the history, use the knowledge. Be an informed voter. We must vote, folks. If we want to see a change, we must vote as educated voters. We cannot let parties tell us who should win and who should lose. Right now, just to be a school board, it costs $75,000 plus. It's ridiculous that we are being priced out of the democracy, the ability to go in and run as a person and win. We got to get back to some different changes. And I want to wish you luck, Ms. Jenkins. We're going to talk more in the future, and we're going to end this now, and I'll talk to you offline. Thank you.